What is life but the ultimate mind game? Most of us go through life asleep, sedated, brainwashed into obedience, blasted by media from all directions, hypnotized and emasculated by Pron, every day becoming less conscious of who we are, every day becoming less conscious of the world around us, divided to be conquered, enraged by imaginary enemies, imaginary divisions in manufactured ones. This calls for a mental reset, to rethink and reevaluate. But to do that, you must fulfill one condition. You must attain one quality. The highest quality to cultivate is the ability to see life as it is, the value of clarity. With clarity, you can attain truth, a sense of direction, and an advantage over others. And how can you do this if you can't even regulate your emotions and thoughts? In this video, you will learn about the cognitive distortions that cloud your judgments, thoughts, and moods. By understanding them, you will minimize your self-sabotage and learn how to self-hypnotize into becoming the person you are meant to become. The first mental trap that you fall for, the first distortion, is labeling. It's a common habit of ours to react negatively to failure. Instead of having some self-compassion, we call ourselves dumb, stupid, insecure, useless, weak. We are used to do this, that we don't even notice it when we say it in front of others. This self-depreciation doesn't reflect us well in the eyes of others, and it certainly impacts our psychology. Again, it's a form of self-hypnosis. What you think, you become. If you constantly call yourself weak, you will manifest those parts of yourselves that are weak. Use labeling to your advantage, and don't be shy to describe yourself in a positive light. Labeling can also be used negatively when describing others, like describing someone as no good or moron. In this way, you are simply missing out on a lot of good people because you label them too fast. Be aware of labeling. The second distortion is overgeneralization. It's the act of quickly trying to predict the outcome of something or the behavior of someone based on one specific single instance. Let's say you fell for one of those Nigerian scams. If you consider all Nigerians as bad people, you would have fallen for this trap. Another example would be avoiding forming relationships with women because your first relationship was toxic, and now you consider all women toxic and bad relationship material. The third distortion is mind reading. You start to assume what people are thinking based on untested signs you just picked. You assume that the boy you are talking to thinks you are ugly and would never be with someone like you, or that your boss thinks you are clueless about the project you are currently working on. To combat this thinking, you ask yourself what concrete evidence you have for this assumption. If you can't find any concrete evidence, maybe you are just mind reading. The fourth distortion is fortune telling, or also known as catastrophizing. This is about making predictions about the future. An introvert might predict that if he accepts the invitation from a business partner, it would simply suck, and that he will be really uncomfortable or bored out of his mind. The question is, how do you actually know? Just because you have a tendency to be uncomfortable with certain people, it doesn't mean that it will be the case in all situations forever. Fortune telling often deprives us from really rare opportunities. The fifth distortion is personalization. In my other channel, I talked about the personalizer, one of the toxic types. Personalization is about taking things too personally, too seriously. It's about making things about you. If something happens, it's because the universe magically decided to punish you. If someone treats you some way, it's because you have something to do with it. Sometimes people have a life beyond you, you know? They act because of reasons that have nothing to do with you. God forbid. Maybe that girl that rejected you does have a boyfriend. Maybe your boss is just having a bad day. maybe, just maybe, the sky is not raining because you are in town. Number 6 is minimization. Minimization usually occurs when something good happens to you, or perhaps you accomplished something. Instead of enjoying your achievement, you belittle it and push the credit to someone else. You are thinking that getting a good grade doesn't necessarily mean you are a good student. Just because you did one good project, it doesn't mean you are a good employee. It's okay to give yourself credit. Realize when you're minimizing. The 7th is magnification. Instead of minimizing the positive, you magnify the negative. Getting a bad grade is considered as the ultimate sign that you are a horrible student and will never succeed in life. Viewing negative events as opportunities, not as declarations of disaster, is key. The 8th distortion is all or nothing thinking. This distortion is about seeing the world in terms of black or white. You're either a complete and utter success or an absolute failure. A man in his 30s, for instance, will see himself as a ridiculous failure because he doesn't check all the boxes that he thinks are supposed to be checked for someone his age. He will deem himself a total disgrace because he doesn't have a car, a house, a girlfriend, a six-pack, a PhD, and so on. He becomes a prisoner of his own mind by refusing to adapt to life, by realizing that life, in its essence, is gray. The 9th distortion is about should and must statements. The distortion is about bounding yourself with all types of conditional declarations. It's when you talk to yourself like a slave. Instead of pushing you towards the positive, these statements make you feel guilty, stuck, anxious about your situation, and place you in a world of pain. My videos are guilty of such statements, I know. I usually use them to create a sense of urgency and dramatic feeling within you, which you must have recognized, of course. An example would be to think, he should have called me before he did that, or I must make friends. It's very difficult to break away from this distortion, so you shouldn't be trying too hard and think, I must remember all these distortions. I should stop using these statements. Take a step back, try to detect when you are using them and write them down. What emotions are you trying to control with such statement? Remember, treat yourself as someone you care about. The 10th distortion is Heaven's Gate fallacy. It's the belief that your sacrifices will get you rewards. That if you work the hardest out of your colleagues, you will be rewarded the most. This is a fallacious thinking because it assumes that life is fair. Life is not fair. Good guys do not always end up first. Bad guys do not always end up last. And vice versa. Expectations are the path towards resentment. Adopting a Heaven's Gate thinking will lead you to become better and will affect your relationships. Think in terms of preferences and ask yourself if your sacrifice is the only thing that contributes to you getting the rewards you want. List the items that contribute to that reward and see how you can tackle the situation instead of relying on sacrifice. If you like this video, leave a like and you can check my next video over here or watch my video in Power Matrix. Don't be prey. I'll see you there.